this shit.
Yeah. Oh man, fresh up out the sand, February 10. It's a boy, but I'm still the man. Come and get your mans, I don't know.
Yeah, you can't hear that. Ain't none of your business. Ain't none of your business. But anyways, let's talk about this man right here. I'm gonna make a prediction that's probably gonna be erroneous. It's probably gonna turn out to be wrong, but I'm gonna make it anyway. I'm gonna predict that Floyd Mayweather is a tool of white supremacy that's gonna eventually get broken. I have to give credit to Professor Black Truth for that sort of analysis of, or that framing. But Floyd Mayweather is a person who should be somebody who normal descendants of American slaves can look up to. He should be a success story of hard work and of sacrifice and of basically building a brand around yourself and allowing other descendants of American slaves on. However, he is not that. We're going to go through some of this stuff. But eventually, I'll just cut to the chase for those who don't want to stick around that long. I feel as though Floyd Mayweather is a tool of white supremacy, and white supremacy needs a W right now. And I think that there was always a plan to have a scratch or dent or an asterisk put in Mayweather's record. And I think somebody's calling in that debt. Or I think that time is come. That's just my own personal opinion. It's not like I have any sort of advanced knowledge. This is my personal opinion. But I believe that. I believe that the ding or the scratch to his record is definitely coming. And I'm going to predict, which is horrible to do, but I'm going to predict that it's this fight where it's going to occur. Especially after the Chauvin verdict and everything else, all the L's that white supremacy is sort of taking. But Floyd Mayweather has been extremely disrespectful when it comes down to racism. He sort of only used it narcissistically to sort of gain sympathy for himself. But at other times, it's very obvious at other times that he is sort of not taking it seriously. Hold on, let me go back here. Had it queued up. Of course, the thing is going to slip on me. I guess we'll just see a longer version. But he's only used racism as a means of gaining sympathy for himself as a narcissist. But he hasn't actually done anything about it functionally, in my opinion. He hasn't actually stuck his neck out in any way, shape, fashion, or form to bring light to these issues. He's just gone for himself and frankly said fuck other people. So, yeah. Let's go ahead and go through this and we'll analyze it from there.
We died for what we believe in. We stand for what we believe in.
Floyd's 50-0. Nah, he's 51-1. He beat his wife too.
He's entitled to feel how he want to feel. Say what he.
The entire country around you.
You have to pay for what you did to Japan.
AdSense really paying off.
I also want to do this.
Google AdSense
Japan,
really pays off.
I know what he did to the country of Japan. I know what he did to Japan. So guess what? You have to pay for what you did to Japan.
Is this you trying to rally an entire country around you?
So,
well, I know what you did to your wife.
You think that he's just bringing that out of thin air. He's not. The whole push right now for Asian hate crimes. Okay, back up. Asian is a supranationality. It is not a race. Asian applies to Russians. Russia is on the Asian continent. India is on the is on the Asian continent. Obviously, China and Japan and all the Pacific Islands are technically a part of the Asian diaspora. Middle Easterns are technically Asians because their full title is Middle East Asians. Even Caucasians are technically Asians because of their claimed origin from the Caucasus Mountains. Asian or Asia or Asian is a supranationality. It transcends nation states. It's not a race. It's not in any way. It may function as a race, which is an argument, but the actual function is as a supranationality. So, what he's referencing here is he's referencing the now push in America for legislation against Asian hate crimes. Legislation that is lacking for descendants of American slaves in the hate crimes done against us, but was passed in record time for the Asian community. He's trying his best to try to get some of that, those political points scored in his favor by referencing Japan. That is what the fuck is going on here. So I don't want you guys to get wrapped up on a lower level, right down here. Let's elevate to a higher level and see what he's actually doing. He doesn't give I suspect that he doesn't give a fuck about Asia. He doesn't give a fuck about Japan. He doesn't really even give a fuck about the suicide video or the suicide forest video that Logan Paul did. I suspect that that privately, he probably thought it was good marketing and a very good way of marketing his brand that Logan Paul was putting out. And I think privately, or I believe privately, that's probably what Mayweather believes. However, when he references this here, it's not really genuine, or at least I don't think it's genuine. So just keep that in mind.
One thing about
Floyd's 50-0. Nah, he's 51-1. He beat his wife too.
he's entitled to feel how he want to feel, say what he want to say.
Let's go there.
My thing is this. You have to always have proof. We can never go by here and say, always have proof. So one thing they know about me, they can say what
Are
they
you
can
reading
say,
from the teleprompter?
but one thing that I do,
Oh no, you can't read.
okay, well, you can speak, you can say whatever you want to say. One thing we know, us as black people, we die for what we believe in. We stand for what we believe in. And a lot of us got killed and died for it, so I don't worry about that.
Why are you making this about race?
Because it's always about race.
I know, I was like that too. Facts. It's always about race. Yeah, it was about race when you try to bring up Japan too. All right? It's about race when you have all this money and you allow other people to degrade you for your lack of reading ability, right? That's something that with all of your money you probably should have rectified pretty quickly when people made the statement about you, right? Clearly, I don't think it's true. I don't believe it's true in any way, shape, fashion, or form. However, it's you who have a responsibility of nipping that in the bud. I mean, I can't imagine somebody, for instance, calling me gay, right? As a straight male, that's just not possible. You're never going to do that for me or do that to me and me not clearly make it clear that I am not gay, right? So at the end of the day, the other thing, which I've never even thought was in second position, but is in clear second position, if you said that I'm illiterate, I'm going to make damn sure that you don't believe that from that statement, from that point forward, right? So he had a responsibility of doing that. Now, his statement is very Neely Fully Jr.-esque, and he is correct. It is always about race, especially in America, in a system of white supremacy. It is always about race. But it was about his race, his lineage of descendants of American slaves before he made that statement about Japan, right? But of course, the other guy is basically all but saying directly that Mayweather is pulling the race card, which is one of those defensive reflexes of individuals, or in my experience, individuals who are in fact racist and bigots. The next thing is I have a black friend, or I don't see color. Like those three statements are all on the same spectrum of the same type of bigot or racist in my experience. So his response is kind of funny, but his response that it's always about race is correct. But we'll get into that in a second.
It's always about race. I'm gonna stand strong for what I believe in.
I'm with your race. I'm with every race.
Don't worry.
Okay, it's my experience that white people who try to act black, white people who know, or more specifically, white people who have adopted urban culture or hip hop culture, right? They listen to rap music, which rap music has huge criticism so far as its influence, right? You can track incarceration rates within the descendants of American slave population to the quality of the music put out. And a large amount of the major rap artists are not descendants of American slaves. They are of Caribbean descent, pushing out gangster rap and violent content for the purpose of inciting the descendants of American slave community to emulate that sort of dysfunctional culture. So my experience is whenever a white person tries to express brotherhood through their previous adoption of urban or hip hop culture, in my opinion, they're sucking the dick of the lowest form of persons or people within our culture, right? I think the expression of hip hop music, especially in its today's form and in most of its pop form, is the lowest form of descendants of American slave culture, and so him making that statement of, well, I'm with your culture, I'm with your race, right? Or I'm with your race, I'm with many races. That's indicative of a white person who thinks that just because they listen to rap music, they are a part of our culture, or they somehow support the descendants of American slave culture, which they do not. In my opinion, those individuals are the most racist people you're going to find. Those individuals who claim to be supportive of urban culture, or of the race or the lineage of descendants of American slaves through their support of hip hop culture, typically, like I said, are the most racist individuals that I know of, or that I've found in my travels. And so this individual making that statement is completely bullshit, right? But we'll get into why that doesn't really matter in a second.
Making this about you.
Don't worry. Well, I can guarantee you this. I can guarantee you this. June 6th, you will get knocked out.
Your shoes are tied. Your shoes are tied.
We'll get back to that. But let's look at some other examples of Floyd talking about racism, and then we'll get to the ultimate.
Think about what's going on out here in the world today, far as racism. It's a lot of racism that goes on in a sport of boxing, because if I was a white American fighter with the same aura, the same style, the same pizzazz, I'd be a multi-billionaire. Multi-billionaire. So when you look at what goes on in Ferguson, what goes on in New York City, and what goes on just in America in today's time, you know, I try not to get in anyone else's business because I don't really want people in my business. But it's crazy. I just sit back and just think that it's crazy. Yeah. It's totally crazy.
Well, you're right about the sport of boxing being being very racist still. Very, very racist. It's probably one of the last bastions of racism out there.
I mean, you just
Get the fuck out of here, last bastion, my ass. But continue.
look at, I mean, like you, for instance. I give you interviews. I talk because
Okay, that part, you can listen to it for yourself if you feel as though I'm lying. But this part right here is him talking about him being written about, which is solely kind of different from what I'm actually talking about. So what he fails to actually say in this interview is the reason why. The reason why. Because he would be a multi-billionaire if he had the same 50-0 record. Well, back in 2014, it wasn't 50-0, but if he had the same 50-0 record right now today, right, and he was a white boxer, he would be a multi-billionaire. That is correct. But the question is why, right? The question of why actually exposes the application of racism to everybody, not just this narcissistic person right here, right? So the reason why he would be a multi-billionaire in that situation is that he would have access to $100 trillion in that situation, right? The total wealth in the white community is $100 trillion. Of that, that's of white community. The total nation's wealth that is shared by black Americans or by descendants of American slaves, well, we'll say black Americans because there are some Nigerians in there, there are some Kenyans in there, there are some people from the Caribbean in there, but largely the people who are descendants of American slaves are on the bottom of that list. So we're not the cream of the crop of black Americans because black Americans is too non-specific. Descendants of American slaves typically own about 2% of the nation's wealth, even though we're about 14% of the population. So that would mean that means that Floyd Money Mayweather is tapping into the wealth, the accumulated wealth of those individuals, which is not that much, right? And then therefore he has to, for the other hundreds of millions of dollars he could potentially gain, he has to tap into white people's wealth in order to get the remainder of that money. Right? So if he's unable to access white wealth in some way, shape, fashion, or form, then he's not able to get that. What that also means, I've already said this before in writing, but I'll say it again in person. So what that 2% means is you'd have to have everything times 7. That means every person that you know, if they owned a house, they now need to have 7 times more houses. If they got a savings account, that means that they need 7 times the amount of savings in their savings account. If they have a 401k, 7 times that 401k. If they got a pension, 7 times that pension. All of this together, that means that they have a car that's paid off, they would have to have 6 more cars paid off as well. Right? Or means of liquidating those assets in order for them to be non-depreciating, right? That's what the descendants of American slaves would need as a whole, as a group. That means my mom, my dad, my sisters and brothers, my grandparents, my aunties and uncles, my cousins, all of them would have to get the same 7 times multiplier for all of their assets in order for, and everybody else in the descendants of American slave community would have to get that just to have our share, our proportional share as it relates to our proportion of the population, our share of the nation's wealth. We would have to have a 7 times multiplier on everything. Now, if we had a 7 times multiplier on everything, probably Mayweather is not even a boxer, right? A large amount of black or descendants of American slave athletes are athletes as a means of escaping impoverishment, right? Maybe Floyd Mayweather is just a writer. Maybe he's just an entertainer. Or maybe somebody else in the descendant of American slave community, as opposed to going to jail, or as opposed to doing something else with their lives, or as opposed to dying in some way, shape, fashion, or form, maybe they become a boxer, right? And maybe they're so much better than Floyd and so outclasses him that he is not even mentioned in such a future or such a reality. Right? But the reason why he's not a multi-billionaire isn't racism in a vacuous sense. It's racism as applied directly on a local level, right? It's because descendants of American slaves are deprived of their wealth proportion, which relates not income. I didn't say income. I said wealth, as it relates to their proportion within the population. And so, because of that, he doesn't get his money, right? He has to tap into white wealth only at the periphery. And so that's the reason why he only has a couple of $100 million, maybe $1 billion, and not multiple billions of dollars, because the people who he would represent, the people who he would champion, or potentially champion, we'll get into that, would have more wealth if they would have more wealth to provide him had they been given more wealth to be able to spend with him. But those types of comments is not what he's saying. He's just saying, essentially, I wish I was born white with all of my skills, because if I was born white with all of my skills, I'd be a multi-billionaire right now. All right? So you think that he's going on a narrative about racism in America, but it's really just a means of him expressing just a personal gripe with his own skin tone and its effects on his wallet, without actually going into an actual narrative that would be helpful for the larger groups of people.
You gave me a fair shake when no one else wanted to give me you gave me a fair shake when no one else wanted to give me a fair shake. But if you Google Floyd Mayweather name, you'll see an article that.
Just for the ones who think I'm lying, there's the article portion, and that's the rest of the video. Moving on.
McGregor. Oh yeah, today I'm not knocking it. Remember this, when I tell you guys, racism still exists. When Mayweather, was flashy, I've been flashy for years. Dan Raphael know this. Flashy, meat coats. And y'all know I've been driving Ferraris and Bentleys and Rolls Royces over 20 years. All this flashy stuff, I was doing it. Oh, he's arrogant. Oh, he's cocky. He's this, he's that. He's unappreciative. But then you take the same guy that's in contact sports, steal my whole blueprint, and he go do it, and they praise him for it. Boy. But these are the things that we don't see. You know, we act like we don't see. But life goes on, and I will always stand my ground and believe in what I believe in. I believe in treating everybody fair. I believe in if you violate, we'll demonstrate. I truly believe in to get respect, you have to give respect. He totally disrespected my family. He's totally disrespected my daughter. She's my family, but that's my baby. He disrespected her. Am I going to trip? No. I still have a job to do, and I still have to remain humble and be a professional, because humble is knowing where your blessings come from. When he come and smack my head or bump me in the shoulder, I'm not finna, what I'm gonna do, hit you back and get a fine? Nobody is dipping into my money. But me first. But me first.
Note the lack of composure nowadays, right? So, or maybe a desperate attempt at marketing, considering the hat snatching incident that just occurred. But I'm gonna let him continue, and then we can see for himself what I'm talking about.
You're gonna get some millions too, but let me dip in first. And I just want to say this, Kelly Swanson. I could have went with any other publicist. When you got a.
Y'all just saw her pop into the screen. That's the lady who walked behind him.
A celebrity, they be like, oh, all the celebrities is with this publicist. Boy, you need to go with this publicist.
Or at least I think.
One thing I will never forget. This lady stuck with me from the beginning. This lady stuck with me when I was in that cell doing time every day. And how I got through it was this. Her letters, everybody writing me. My daughter, mother writing me, Leonard writing me, Al checking on me, but it's another person. These are my friends. These are like my best friend. Where's Shane? Shane here? Right here. Come on, Shane. Okay.
Yeah, Shane. Shane May.
My lawyer Shane. When I was locked away, and I was doing time in Max, because you have to be careful when you talk about this, because your freedom is nothing like having freedom. When I was locked away, everything I think about every day, I'd be like, I just want to sit, I just want to touch a tree. I just want to walk through the park. These are the things that you really miss. And sometimes we take things like this for granted. I just want to walk through the park. Every day, he came to see me. It made me stronger. Every day. But, I mean, this is one of the best lawyers in the world. And, you know, I do give my lawyers gifts. I bet he got it on. Yeah, you know that's my lawyer. That guy know what I'm talking. Yeah. And I really want to thank CBS, because these are the people that we don't know that have my back. You know, CBS and Showtime. They cut 9-figure checks without a problem. Without a problem. I don't have to say, and they put extras on it for me. No, Floyd, ain't go extra $2 million, ain't go extra $1 million. Ain't go extra $3 million. I want to thank MGM Grand. These are the people I have to really thank. I go to MGM Grand. Okay, I want to go down here. Here you go, Floyd. You can have it. Whatever you want. So I'm going to always, and I have to thank Steven Espinoza. Steven, come up. Please, Steven. This is the man. This is the man that gave me the biggest deal. I don't know if it's in boxing or in sports, but we made a lot of money together. Steven, thank you.
Come on, you're gonna give Tank some ideas.
We got him. We're gonna get him a deal.
Yeah.
You know, and every day what I try to teach to him, he gonna learn. I teach him, I don't want you to be able to buy a watch 1 or 2 times or 3 times. No. I want you to be able to buy a diamond watch every month, if you want to, if you choose to. But I'm older now, so you know, I got.
Pompous, gratuitous examples of personal wealth aside, you notice how, with the exception of Leonard Ellerby, which I don't necessarily know if Leonard is a descendant of American slaves or not. I would have given him at least a pause before I do. You didn't really notice many descendants of American slaves around among the other people named here. It's funny in that you have an individual who generated so much money in the sport of boxing, and so little people around him in his decision-making team are descendants of American slaves, or at least in the circle of people that were just announced in such an emotional manner. Last I checked, there are black publicists. Last I checked, there are black attorneys. Last I checked, there are black marketing and deal makers within the boxing arena or boxing area. And last I checked, if he is a decision maker, the decision maker, he has ultimate and final say on who those people are around him. So, it's very interesting that you talk about racism when you first start this, but from a narcissistic standpoint, right? It's not really racism in general about how the media portrays him. It's more so, hey, I can't brand myself this way, but a white person can, right? I can't brand myself in an arrogant way, but a white person can, right? It's more of like a factoid, not really a critique, not really bringing up something of substance. But we'll continue. Do I have...
Now how's Pop?
Oh, we'll get to that. We'll get to that.
I was born a donkey.
We'll get to that too. Actually, no, we're not going to do the little donkey of the day where he talks about being close to Ali and in the area of racism, but whatever.
Doing what you do. I've been here so many years, and I know what it takes.
Some black people are mad because he said the whole boy comments. What do you think about it? Are you offended by the whole boy comments?
Racism still exists, but you know, I try to take something negative and turn it into something positive. You know, we all know there's only two type of boys, a white boy and a cowboy, and I'm not neither. I'm just joking. You know, but like I said before, I'm not upset at all. You know, Conor McGregor is a tough competitor. I'm a tough competitor, and it's about giving the fans what they want to see. You know, I don't. You know, a lot of people say that Conor McGregor is racist, but I don't worry about that. You know, it's about going out there doing my job.
So you haven't been offended by anything Conor said? You know,
no.
Even the racial stuff. Or
I mean, when he said the boy comment, you know, it is what it is. He's entitled to feel how he want to feel.
Sorry about the fact that was still recording on the microphone. Probably a little small echo. But, yeah, he had an opportunity to call out racism directly, right? Subtle microaggression style racism. And he decided to sort of pass on it. By saying racism still exists, he believes that he's qualifying racism, or at least giving it a wink and a nod, or some sort of legitimacy that should give him access to not be criticized. But when given a platform to actually openly call it out such that it doesn't happen again, he doesn't do so, right? Doesn't do so. But let's go to the ultimate reason why I think this will happen.
So, you know, your pops he was sparring.
I think my dad need to stop boxing. He older, but you know what I'm finna go into.
Oh, right. So Gucci, yeah, no, you've been a long time supporter. Are you still supporting after the whole controversy?
What controversy?
Yeah, I'm sure you heard. You know, they had the blackface sweater, and you know, a lot of prominent artists are dropping them. You know, the blackface.
Man, listen, I don't got nothing against nobody.
Really?
My thing is this: I support everybody. I like everybody. And my thing is this: I like to live life and do what I like to do. I'm not no follower. I do what the fuck I want to do.
Right.
Because everybody say wear this or don't wear this. I'm wearing what the fuck I want to wear. I'm about to go in the Gucci.
Were you disrespected at all by the whole blackface?
I'm about to go in the Gucci.
Now, I saw you drop that light 40 on, you know, at that tournament the other day. At that game.
Oh yeah, but you see, we've been in there shopping today.
Look at that. Oh man. Oh yeah, you're not worried about the backlash at all. Look at all the Gucci bags.
Oh man, I'm living life, man. Right. I'm living life.
Because you know, like people like T.I., Soulja Boy, they're done with Gucci. They said.
All I gotta say is this: I don't follow.
Right.
I do what I want to do, when I want to, and how I want to. I love it like everybody.
Right.
You said they're gonna be upset with me?
Right, they are.
Oh, I love it. I love it. See, the thing is this: I live for myself.
Right.
I live for myself. I do what I want to do, when I want to, and how I want to. Right. I'm not a follower. You know, when everybody else, they say, everybody gonna boycott. I say, guess what? Well, this boy gonna get on a yacht and live life.
Right. But you don't feel that they were disrespectful making the balaclava, the blackface?
My thing is this.
Sure.
We all know racism still exists.
Right.
But that's not gonna stop my drive. I got friends from all walks of life. And to me, of course, Black Lives Matter first. But my thing is this: I'm gonna continue to go out there, live life, and be happy and be positive.
Okay.
I wear what I want to wear, when I want to, and how I want to. Nobody can stop my drive, and nobody's gonna tell me what to wear and what not to wear. Because half of the people that's on social media saying, "Don't wear this, don't wear that," I ain't never seen none of them supporting the money team.
Money May, they stay open late for you.
Oh man, it's the what?
So, like they closed at 7. It's already 8:30. What you dropping there? How much? I see the bags.
We got a lot of bags. I think we spent about 200,000 or 300,000.
Wow.
Like
that including Gucci?
With the Gucci, I don't know how much we spent in Gucci today, but I'm living life, man. Like I said before, I'm happy. It's about being positive. I live life to the fullest, man.
Look, your birthday's coming up. Birthday plans February 24th.
Birthday. You matter of fact, before my birthday, I still got my red Bugatti, but I think I'm gonna buy. I got 2 more Bugattis coming for my birthday. I'm buying probably the Chiron and the old school one. The Chiron about 3.6. 3.6 million.
Treat yourself for your birthday.
But I still got my red Bugatti. I still got a couple of Bugattis. Wow. But I haven't showed them in a while on social media, so I think I'm gonna show one of my Bugattis actually tonight. My red one. I still got my red one. Yeah.
I will see that, but
I still got my red one.
You think that is the car a good investment? Because sometimes cars, they say you take them off the lot, what do you think?
That's for those that ain't got no real money. I got real money.
So you don't care if
So like I told you before, I'm not rich. I'm wealthy.
You're wealthy, right?
Yeah.
What's the best investment out right now as far as money-wise?
I'm not giving nobody no game. You got to have game on your own, and you got to have your own hustle to find that out. I'm not giving nobody no game.
You don't give investment tips.
I'm not giving no investment tips. For me to give investment tips, you must tip me, and I'm talking about heavy.
Can I get this one? Let me get this one.
Huh?
You got
it. Okay, TMZ buying me something.
Yeah, I got it.
I need a little peach tea.
Grab my card.
Peach tea, sure. You like that very
no, we're gonna treat him. We're gonna treat him. Now here you go.
Okay. Oh, okay, all right.
A little peach tea.
You sure? All right.
Couple of dollars. You know how it is.
Nothing to champ. You getting something for Jizzy and Diesel?
By Diesel.
By Diesel.
By Diesel. By Diesel. You're doing a lot of running, cutting your body up.
The most yoked bodyguards out here, man.
Want this one? Mango. This one is not too much.
Not too much coke. That's the one I want. Here go $100. Thank you.
Yeah, that's right.
Keep your change.
Oh, thank you very much, friend.
Nothing for the guys.
Let's go back to this stupid face.
When everybody.
So, I wanted to show the whole thing because I hate when people sort of chop it up and stop in the middle. So you heard the whole thing. So this individual basically has no loyalty to the black community. He only brings up racism when he's trying to basically use racism to explain his own personal situation, which is very much so not a real issue. All right, it's not really a real problem that you're talking about. Your situation, your issues, your problems are nothing to a person who's actually dealing with real racism. And when having an opportunity, once again, to use his platform to actually bring light to racism, he is using his platform for basically the diminishment of a movement, right? This was the movement in sort of a fledgling form, right? That's the reason why he's saying Black Lives Matter, even though Black Lives do matter. I don't support the organization BLM. But that's the reason why he's bringing that up, right? It's a catchphrase for him to sort of try to show that he's down. But his actions, it's almost like this, to me, it felt like a commercial. It felt like a commercial for Gucci and a commercial for Neiman Marcus. And it felt like he was being used as a token Negro to say to other white people, hey, you can keep on buying here because look, this prominent Negro who's saying in one phrase racism exists, he's also saying that I'm still going to shop here. So if you shop here, you could at least point to him and say, well, Mayweather shops here, Floyd Mayweather shops here, and he's black, right? He's giving every single Neiman Marcus and Gucci customer a black friend they can point to so that they can keep on shopping there, right? That does have monetary value. Whether or not he got compensated for the monetary value he was able to provide those brands is a separate question that I can't answer because I don't know. But at the end of the day, like, he's being used as a tool of white supremacy, while on the other hand, on the same hand, trying to say that racism exists. But again, he's only saying racism exists in response to personal attacks, or to get himself out of personal criticism, or to lament his personal woes, but not to actually advance the cause of racism or the plight of those who deal with racism by actually bringing up anything substantive or doing anything substantive to bring light to it. It would be very important. It would have been very cool in this moment if Floyd Mayweather took all of his Gucci shit and burned it. All right? If he took all of his Louis V shit and burned it. If he took everything that he bought from Neiman Marcus and burned it. That would have been a very powerful message. And for him to say, listen, until these brands make very real change to their design teams and bring accountability for the people who thought that this overt racism was cool, until they do that, I'm not gonna shop with them again. That would have been very powerful. Did he do that? Nope. He did not do that. He gave support to them. So that brings me back to this shit. Let's get a good side by side.
Are you kidding me?
Yeah, absolutely.
Side by side. So if I was a white supremacist, right, who knew martial arts, or if I was a white supremacist who knew about boxing, if I was a white supremacist who just wanted white supremacy to get a W, right, I would be working with Logan Paul as much as humanly possible to put that scratch, that dent in Mayweather's record. To have the temple punch happen, right, that brings him wobbling down to his knees, and have Logan Paul, of all people, be the simpleton who brings down a great fighter, right? He's not really a great fighter for descendants of American slaves. He could be, but every opportunity he has to actually highlight racism in a real way, in a way that matters, in a substantive way, he, as you see in these clips, he doesn't actually do so. Either he doesn't have the intellect to do it, he doesn't have the knowledge and the background to do it, or he doesn't have the will to obtain the knowledge and background that's necessary in order for him to do it, or he just honestly does the opposite, as you just saw with the brands of Gucci and Neiman Marcus, and I'm sure Louis Vuitton was a part of that controversy as well. So at the end of the day, or at least I suspect they were. They've had some conflict in the past, Louis Vuitton. But every single time he has an opportunity to highlight these issues, to highlight these problems, to bring them to the forefront so that everybody can see them, and use his platform that he has in order to bring real substantive protest at his level for these issues, I don't know, like a Muhammad Ali did back in his time, he fails to do so. So I honestly believe that there's another component to him continuously fighting, right? I believe, especially in this fight where they're speculating that he's going to be outweighed by as much as 50 plus pounds. I don't know what it's going to really come down to. I don't know how the fight got sanctioned, considering the weight difference between the two individuals. But I'm sure there's portions of the contract that are there that I'm sure that if Logan Paul knocks him out, I'm fairly confident there's going to be a deduction of his payout, but I'm fairly confident that the marketing on the backside would be so great that Logan Paul would really not care. He'll probably get the balance of any sort of contract penalty paid back to him in subsequent marketing of his status. And then obviously there would be a rematch associated with this as well. But I honestly believe that Mayweather is going to eventually take an L. He's eventually going to take an L to his record as sort of like a proxy for descendants of American slaves as a whole. I think that. It's not that Mayweather is a part of the descendant of American slave community's push for reparations in any substantive way, but in the eyes of white people, he's just simply a great black hope within black society, the larger, broad black society, and they would love for him to have a scratch or a dent on his record as sort of like a spit in the face of black people everywhere. So I honestly believe that Logan Paul has so many people willing and able and just even volunteering their work and analysis and all of their advice to Logan Paul for that to occur. And I think if it were to occur, if he were to get knocked out, Mayweather wouldn't see it from that lens. I think he would just see it from a business lens of how much money he can make on rematch. You know what I'm saying? Any sort of hit he took in the fight, or any sort of hit to his legacy would be made up if he was able to win a rematch. I think that's how he would process it. He wouldn't process it in the form of how or what it would do to the larger black community. But honestly, he's not really a role model within the descendants of American slave community. He's not really an ideal or a person to look up to within our community. He is just, in my opinion, a rich sellout. And I think he's going to keep on selling us out as much as he possibly can in order for him to get as much money as he possibly can. And we'll see what happens. But my prediction is that Floyd Mayweather is going to be a useful tool of white supremacy, and eventually he's going to get knocked out by a white boy. And they're going to be able to scratch and dent his record for the rest of his life, and give the descendants of American slave community a nice spit in their face through the image of Floyd getting knocked the hell out. That's my prediction.